Hello, class. For this project, we are going to use type to create an image. This involves printing out various words and warping them to create an image that hopefully has something to do with those words. This example right here I found on the internet, and this is a picture of Audrey Hepburn created with titles of her movies. So we are going to, for my example, do the same thing except with Clint Eastwood. I found a picture of Clint Eastwood on the internet and dropped it in Medibang. There it is. And I am going to basically cover him with the titles of his movie. I'm not telling you you got to do anything like that. You can choose any school appropriate image and use any words that you feel somehow relate to that image. Doesn't have to do anything with movies. But I am following the example I found on the internet for this example. So next thing I did was I went to Wikipedia and typed in Clint Eastwood and found a list of his movies. So here we have them, and I am going to expand that, hit Control T, and make that list a little bigger so that so it's big enough that I can read it. Let's say right there. I think that'll work. I could probably make it a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so there you have it. A list of some of his famous movies. I just grabbed them from 64 to 85. The truth is, he was making movies from the early 50s, and to this day, it's just amazing. Amazing actor, director, producer. Okay, what's next? Typing out the words would be next. Now, I'm going to go to my text box. There it is, my text tool, there it is. And I've got my black selected, and I can begin typing out text. You know what, before I do that, I'm going to drop the opacity on Clint Eastwood layer. So with that, his layer selected, I'm going to come up here to opacity and make him a little less intense. That'll work. And then I think this layer behind him, I'm just going to delete some of this stuff, everything that I don't need. So I'm going to just do a selection here, delete that away. All right. So I've got Clint kind of faded out there, and you can make them as light or dark as you want. Look at that. That works. That's even better, I think. Okay. So on my new layer, I'm going to type out some text, and nothing special about this except that I have some interesting news. I figured out why when I download fonts off to font, it wasn't showing up here in Medibang. And the reason was I had this checked, this box right here, use cloud text rendering. So when you have that checked in Medibang, it limits the styles that you can use. It does a nice preview of them. That's a benefit. But the list is much smaller, and you cannot add to it. So if you find something on this list, some font on this list that you like, more power to you. There's a lot of good ones. But if you uncheck this box, use cloud text rendering, then you just get a list of all the fonts that are on your computer. And if you add a font, like I just did before this class started, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it shows you the fonts you've added. So these were the ones in past assignments that I've attempted to add before. Thick Deco, Coyote Deco, Deco Caps. Remember when I was doing all that Deco stuff? Sure enough, here it is. So I don't know if any of you knew that or not. You probably did. I didn't. So sorry it took me so long to figure that out. But I've downloaded a font for this assignment called Western Normal. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to type his first movie on this list, which is, and I'm going to use all caps. So caps on, A Fistful of Dollars. Okay, I'm going to make that fairly large. I'm going to go to the text size and choose 36. You know what, maybe more, 48. So you can make it as big as you need, depending on where you plan on putting it. So this one, for me, is this is a big one. Fistful of Dollars is a pretty important movie. It's one of my favorites that he did, and really got the Western, spaghetti Western, they call it, genre going. And I want it in a prominent place. So I could do it on the brim of his hat, or maybe right here on the top of his hat. I'm thinking on the top of his hat. And I'm going to save the brim of his hat for perhaps the most famous one, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly. So to do this on the top of his hat, I'm going to make it smaller. So I think that's going to work. Let me grab let me just hit OK here. And then I'm going to use the move button and see how that's looking roughly. Okay, and of course we have the ability to transform it. So how is that done? How do you transform it? That's kind of the whole point of this assignment, really, is how do you take text and really transform it, warp it, do whatever you want with it. In its current state, it is not transformable in any way. All you can do right now is edit it. You just click on the little icon here, the little gear thing, and you can change the spelling or the color, but that's about it. Okay. In order to make it editable, you have to put it on a different layer, on a standard layer. So to do that, you just copy and paste it. So with this layer selected, here it is. You can see it's highlighted over here. I'm just going to type Control-C, and then I'm going to make a new layer, or actually I already have another layer right here, layer 5, and type Control-V. And you can see it pops up in the corner there. All right. And now the layer that is the actual text layer, I don't need that anymore. I'm just going to hit the trash can, get rid of that. And oh, it looks like it makes its own layer when you type Control-V. So you don't even have to make a new layer. You can just move that on over. In fact, I can just get rid of that one then. And take this right here, and now it's just like anything else. I can transform this like I would transform anything. And the standard transform is Control-T. So you would just type Control-T, and you can check this little free transform box here. And you know what you can do. You can rotate it. You can grab the corners, do this kind of thing, which is pretty neat, grabbing the corners. You can flip it around, hit the flip button here. So that's just transform, which has a lot of power, but not quite what I'm after. So I'm after the ability to really transform this thing. So the more severe transforming is when you go to select and you come to mesh transform right here. There it is. Mesh transform. Now, with mesh transform, you can determine the number of columns and rows you use to mess with this. I'm gonna zoom in on it a little bit so you can see what I'm doing better here. And because I'm going to try to fit this fistful of dollars across the top of his hat. Okay. So to make that happen, I need to squish it a little bit and stretch it out. I could do a regular transform and just squish it. That'll take care of that part of the problem. So if I put this right here and let's just say I'm just going to squish it, something like that. I could even do this angle. Okay, so there's the standard transform, right? But here comes the big one. I'm going to go to select and choose the mesh transform. And now I can grab hold of any point in this mesh and drag it. So if I grab hold of the top middle one, it doesn't do a whole lot. How about this one right here? That's doing a lot. And I can slowly work my way up here, grabbing these lines and kind of curving it up into it. It's going to take a little while. There's no doubt about it. This is an effort. So be careful as you do this, and it will pay off. I'm liking what's happening here. You got to be careful when that you don't move the whole thing. So you got the move button moves the entire thing, but you got to grab those little mesh corners, and the move button turns white when you are doing that. So be sure that you're doing that correctly. It's a little annoying. You got to make sure it's turning white. Be careful about that. Anyway, yeah, it's a pretty good system. Want to make sure it's legible, and when you feel it's good, you hit OK. Now, by the way, you can adjust the number of columns and rows. If you want it to be less or more capable, you like for example, if I was trying to get in here, I might be able to come in here. I don't know if I can do that. Maybe you have to do it before you do it. Hit OK. Let's see if you have to do it before. I'm going to try it one more time. I come to the select mesh transform, and before you start tugging on it, change the number of columns here. There it is. We're going to make it 5 and hit OK. Oops, sorry. One more time. Go to select mesh transform, change that to 5 columns, and then see about moving it. There you go. It gives you a little more. The more columns you have, obviously, the more control you have over it. But then the more you are going to be required to finesse it. So the more of these columns you click in here, the more accuracy you're going to have, but it is going to require more effort on your part. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that. Fistful of dollars. And we can turn this image off and see what it's looking like. Perfect. Okay. So far, so good. So, I'm not going to finish this entire thing today, but I am going to I'll do a couple more with you. Let's see if we can finish off this hat. My next movie is a few dollars more. Um, would it be funny to put that underneath? It was a sequel. It probably is pretty fitting to put that underneath. So I'll go to my text and type here and type a few dollars more. And maybe make that a little smaller. Okay, and you know the drill. You just hit Control C, Control V. There it is. Delete the text one, and then move this guy into place. And you can start messing with that. Here we go. Mesh, select mesh transform. You know, I'm going to do the other one first. Let's do the standard transform. I can get this thing similar, because that one is easier to use. And I'm going to hit free transform down here and grab the corner and see if I can't get it a little closer, because this one, again, is definitely faster. The other one, pulling on all those lines is a lot of trouble. But this one, you can get it, if you can get it close and then dial it in, that's good. So there you go. And then I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to go up here to the select mesh transform. And now we'll just dial this thing in. And it's going to, we know it's some work. So here we go. A few dollars more. Boy, that moving it around thing is really annoying. You really gotta be careful that you're not doing that. You gotta be careful that the little move button is showing up as white and not as black. So when it's black, it moves the whole thing. Looking pretty good. I gotta tell you, I like this assignment. Glad I thought of it. All right, hit OK. A fistful of dollars on top. Let's turn the background off. And a few dollars more on the bottom. That is perfect. I'm very happy with that. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do for this example today is the brim. So let's see if we can get that whole brim outline. That is going to be quite a challenge. So I'm going to go to my text layer and type out here the good, comma, the bad, the ugly. And make sure I got that right. Let's scoot over here. It's and the ugly, my mistake. Sorry about that, but no problem. Click on the gear there and change that easy as pie and the ugly. Okay. Is it long enough? Might need to go to that 36. Okay. And then just like before, Control C, Control V, get rid of the text layer, and then take this guy and move him into place. So that's the one I'm going to wrap around the whole brim if possible. Okay, this is going to be quite the challenge. I think it needs to be a little longer. Just a little bit. So I'm going to do a regular transform, Control T, and stretch it out, make it a little longer, maybe a little thicker. It might be a little too thick, something like that. Okay. And rotate it just to get things started here. Most of it does come along this angle here. I definitely think it's going to be longer. Stretch that out a bit. Okay. So that is the regular transform, and now for the mesh. Select mesh transform. And wow, here we go. This is really going to be a challenge. We'll start at the bottom here. Start tugging on these lines down on the bottom. See what happens. Wild. It is very effective. You know what I'm realizing now is that I should have made more columns. I'm going to hit cancel and try that. So select mesh transform, and instead of 5 columns, I'm going to make like 8 columns. Or geez, maybe 9. This is going to be challenging. Let's see if that works. Don't let it turn on you if you don't want it to. Ooh, that moving is annoying. Really got to make sure it lights up, which slows you down. Definitely slows you down. Maybe less rows would have been better. I bet you less rows, more columns was the answer on this one. Try that next time. So this has 4 rows, but I bet if I'd gone with 3 rows, or maybe even 2, that it would have been pretty simple. I wouldn't have had to grab so many of these anchor points. Here's where it really starts to take shape. It's going to be tricky. I'm up for the challenge. like that. I gotta tell you, I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. Excellent. Okay, and then we'll start pulling this side down. And whipping this side around. Let's bring that guy back around. Whoops. Wow, I just realized something pretty upsetting. See how that part of the last word ugly was hanging off the screen? I should not have allowed that. I didn't realize that. And now it's gone forever. So lesson learned. Don't let any of the text hang off the edge of the artboard because it will not come back. All right. So that's all right. It looks like it would have got cut off anyway. Nobody's going to notice, but it's kind of an important word. I guess it looks like it's wrapping around the back side of the hat, so not too big a loss, but definitely a good lesson to learn there. All right. I think that is really coming along. I'm going to hit OK on that. And let's see what that looks like when we take on. It's starting to look like a hat. Amazing. Okay, guys, so next time we meet, I guess we'll just finish this off.